Okay, let's talk. Because when science fiction goes big, cinema still hits differently. Scale matters. Big screens matter. And in 2026, sci-fi isn't just showing up in theaters, it's taking them back. Now, with apologies to any superhero movies that might happen to contain sci-fi elements, no Supergirl, and no Avengers Doomsday here, this is a pure science fiction, space travel, alien contact, dystopian futures, and ideas that demand the biggest screen possible. Beloved franchises are returning, long-awaited sequels are finally landing, and some of the most respected filmmakers in the world are pushing their universes forward. If even half of these movies deliver, 2026 could be one of the strongest sci-fi years we've had in a long time, in my own opinion. And if you like, a real movie recommendations from someone who actually watches these films, not an AI channel, just reading lists. Supporting the channel really helps. Hit like, subscribe, and stick around for more honest sci-fi and movie recommendations coming your way. So let's get into it. These are 15 major sci-fi blockbuster sequels coming in 2026. Kicking things off on our list, at number 1, The Dog Stars. It feels almost inevitable that Ridley Scott would circle back to science fiction again. I mean, for all his genre hopping over the decades, this is the terrain where his imagination has always seemed most at ease, from the cold industrial terror of Alien to the rain-soaked existential ache of Blade Runner, and even the sturdy procedural optimism of The Martian. Scott's sci-fi films rarely resemble one another in tone, yet they share a seriousness of purpose, a belief that speculative worlds can still reflect very human anxieties. The Dog Stars places him in intriguingly intimate territory. Adapted from The Dog Stars, the film imagines a future hollowed out by pandemic loss. The world hasn't ended in a blaze, it's simply thinned, emptied, left echoing. The story follows Hig, a former pilot played by Jacob Elordi, living in near isolation inside an aircraft hangar alongside Bangley, a volatile sniper portrayed by Josh Brolin. Their routines feel brittle, sustained, more by habit than hope, until a mysterious radio signal nudges them back toward a world they've learned not to trust. Scott has always been fascinated by environments, the way spaces shape people, and you can feel that impulse here, especially with a supporting cast that includes Margaret Qualley and Benedict Wong. Even Scott's shakier late-career films, like the Alien prequels, were rarely lacking in visual conviction. If nothing else, The Dog Stars seems poised to be ravishing to look at, and perhaps quietly devastating, in what it says about survival when civilization has already slipped away. Next on our list, Cold Storage. Imagine The Last of Us filtered through a darker comic sensibility, and you're somewhere in the neighborhood of Cold Storage. This is a science fiction comedy with a pulpy hook and a streak of mischief, adapted by David Cope from his own novel and directed by Johnny Campbell, whose earlier work, Alien Autopsy, suggests a taste for playful conspiracy. Deep inside a self-storage facility, a parasitic fungus, long sealed away by the government, breaks loose. 2 unsuspecting employees find themselves trapped during what rapidly becomes the most surreal shift of their working lives. As underground temperatures rise, the organism mutates, spreads, and begins exerting mind control over anything it infects, human or otherwise. There's body horror here, certainly, but also a sense that the film knows how absurd its escalation is. You can feel co-op, having fun, twisting familiar Outbreak movie. Next on our list, The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping. There was a time when you might have assumed this franchise had finally exhausted itself, yet here we are again, and not without curiosity. Sunrise on the Reaping is another prequel, threading its way back toward the original 2011 film that launched the phenomenon. That connective tissue explains the return of Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson. These are faces that still carry emotional weight for longtime fans. Under the steady hand of Francis Lawrence, the series has become strangely reliable. Lawrence understands the grammar of oppression that defines Panem, the pageantry, the cruelty, the uneasy romance blooming in hostile soil. His work on the Long Walk movie reminded some of us how underrated he can be, particularly with performance. Expect familiar themes, state violence, spectacle, doomed love, rendered with professional confidence, if not radical surprise. Next on our list, Soulmate. Soulmate is a spin-off from Blumhouse's viral hit movie Megan. Where that film balanced satire and slasher mechanics, Soulmate reportedly leans harder into erotic unease. The story follows a lonely widower who buys a gynoid to keep him company, only for the wretched thing to start wreaking havoc. Directed by Kate Dolan and starring David alongside Lily Sullivan, the film treads ground familiar from Subservience, a 2024 thriller starring Megan Fox and numerous other films where human-robot relations turn sour. Will this sequel be bigger hit than Megan 2.0, which was an unexpected disappointment in 2025? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Next on our list, 28 years later, The Bone Temple. With The Bone Temple, Nia DaCosta steps into a franchise long defined by Danny Boyle's feral energy. This new chapter continues the story begun in 2025 sequel, plunging us once again into a Britain fractured by disease, superstition, and hardening territorial instincts. Written by Alex Garland, whose imagination has never shied away from the unsettling, the film reportedly delivers on both atmosphere and momentum. Garland, ideas often feel like they arrive from some uncomfortable corner of the subconscious, and that may be exactly why this series still resonates. Next on our list, Mercy. Approaching Mercy requires a certain suspension of cynicism. Director Timur Bekmambetov once made his name on the kinetic excess of Wanted, but more recently, he's been associated with so-called screen life thrillers. His involvement as producer on War of the Worlds, a computer screen-bound adaptation that baffled more than it thrilled, didn't inspire much confidence. Still, Mercy has a premise, with some bite. Set in a near future, where the justice system has been fully automated, the film stars Chris Pratt as a detective accused of murdering his wife. He has 90 minutes to persuade an impassive AI judge, voiced by Rebecca Ferguson, of his innocence or face immediate execution. Next on our list, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. There.
Good luck, have fun, don't die.
Excuse me?
Something oddly comforting about seeing Gore Verbinski back in the director's chair. After everything from Rango to the Pirates of the Caribbean saga, Verbinski returns here with a scruffier, more eccentric sci-fi comedy. The movie follows a man who stumbles into a diner night, insisting that he's from the future and that he needs the customer's help to avert a future war against machines. The film made its debut at 2025's Fantastic Fest, where it garnered almost universally positive reviews. Next on our list, The Bride.
Please.
Despite the title, this film has no connection to Guillermo del Toro, lush Frankenstein adaptation. Instead, The Bride marks the second directorial effort from Maggie Gyllenhaal, whose The Lost Daughter revealed a filmmaker unafraid of emotional abrasion. Here, Jessie Buckley plays a mortally wounded woman, resurrected by a doctor, portrayed by Annette Bening. Christian Bale takes on the role of the monster and the bride's intended partner by relocating Mary Shelley's Gothic mythos to the roaring 1920s. The film promises opulence and sorrow in equal measure. It looks poised to be a tragic romance, steeped in artifice and longing, the kind of reinterpretation that invites you to feel the old story anew. The Mandalorian and Grogu. After 7 years away from theaters, Star Wars finally returns to the big screen with The Mandalorian and Grogu, a feature-length offshoot of Lucasfilm's Disney Plus juggernaut. Plot details are scarce, and truthfully, they barely matter. This is a film that lives or dies on rhythm, momentum, and sheer pulp pleasure. If Jon Favreau can recreate the snap and visual confidence that defined the show at its best, the result should be an easy, crowd-pleasing night at the movies. Pedro Pascal returns as the stoic gunslinger. Grogu remains an intergalactic charisma vacuum, and the cast expands to include Sigourney Weaver and Jeremy Allen White, the latter playing an alarmingly muscular offspring of the late Jabba the Hutt. You can already sense the tonal promise polished to justify the theatrical scale. Next on our list, Disclosure Day. It is an absurdly stuffed year for respected directors making genre films, and Disclosure Part 3. The year closes with a final gust of sand and spice as Denis Villeneuve returns to Arrakis for Dune Part 3, and the rest of the ensemble cast step back into a universe that Villeneuve has rendered with rare seriousness and scale. What makes this installment especially intriguing is that it ventures beyond the boundaries of Frank Herbert's original novel, which provided the backbone for the first two films. Herbert's sequel, Dune Messiah, contains ideas that are bold, unsettling, and not always obviously cinematic. Whether Villeneuve adapts them directly or charts a new path entirely, his previous entries inspire confidence. They were meticulous, immersive, and unapologetically grand. It will be fascinating to see how far he's willing to push this world. Also on the horizon, without release dates yet, there's Ray Gun, an animated sci-fi noir passion project from Brad Bird, whose long gestating ideas are rarely anything less than deeply personal. And then there's Godzilla Minus Zero, the follow-up to Godzilla Minus One, an instant modern kaiju classic that reminded audiences how much emotional weight a giant monster can carry. And that's really the through line here, not just spectacle, not just nostalgia or intellectual property doing victory laps, but a sense that genre cinema is once again being treated as a place where big ideas and human feeling can coexist.